thank you all for coming, and we are very excited to be the kickoff panel for the event this afternoon. We're going to have a lively and hopefully provocative discussion up here with three of the designees, honorees, finishers on the Best Global Brands list for 2013. And I guess if you guys could all introduce yourselves very briefly, and then we'll get the panel underway. So from this end?
Well, I'm not one of the finishers on the panel.
Well, but you're the facilitator of the finishing.
Indeed. I'm Jez Frampton. I'm the global CEO of Interbrand, and it's a great pleasure to be here, Stuart.
I'm Susan Avarde. I'm head of global branding for Citigroup, and it's also a great pleasure to be here.
I am Frank Abenante. I'm the global vice president for brands for Anheuser-Busch InBev.
And I'm Mark Hansricher. I'm the CMO at Harley-Davidson, and thanks to the New York Stock Exchange for having us.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. I thought we'd start out with Jez just giving sort of a very brief overview of the findings of the 2013 survey, which was released this morning in the wee small hours of the morning.
Yes, and, with an exclusive with the New York Times, I understand.
Yes, that was indeed. Obviously, I guess the top line was the fact that there's a new world's most valuable #1 brand this year, and it not only is a new #1 this year, it's the first time that this particular brand has not finished in the top spot in the survey in all the years that you've done the survey.
Absolutely. So Apple is our new #1. And the value is just north of $98 billion, which is an astoundingly large amount of money. And of course, following them swiftly on is Google. So Coca-Cola actually dropped down to the 3rd space this year. If you look at the table as a whole, the total value is about $1.5 trillion if you add up the value of all those brands, which I was reliably informed this morning is not far off the GDP of Canada, which is about 1.8 trillion. So it gives you a sense of how much value is generated just in the brands of those top 100 businesses. There is a big technology story this year, without question, apart from our new #1. If you take a look at the top 10, I think 7 of the brands could be loosely or very clearly defined as technology. You've got obviously Apple and Google, you know, GE, who are increasingly involved in the technology space, IBM, Samsung, Intel. You know, there's a lot of big players in there. But at the same time, we say goodbye to BlackBerry and Yahoo off of the table this year. Nokia, obviously, no big surprise there, had a very interesting year, and the largest faller on the table. And then in with them, people like Nintendo as well. So it's not all sunny skies being a tech company. And you shouldn't take for granted that your brand is obviously going to flourish and develop just because you happen to be in the world of technology. We were talking to some people last week about the fact that you know, there is a cycle, a life cycle within the world of technology, and the companies that manage to actually, I suppose, leap beyond that standard 10 years or so have 2 things really that they depend upon. #1, they obviously have to continue to reinvent themselves, which I think is a theme for all companies nowadays. It's not enough to just stand still. You really do need to be prepared almost to kill your own business in order to survive. And of course, Amazon, another one of our top 5 risers this year, a great example of a company who is constantly reinventing the way they do business. But above and beyond that, so it's not just enough to have great products, you have to build a sustainable brand. And I think to look at companies like Coca-Cola for how they've managed to maintain their relevance over such a long period of time. Someone was giving me some interesting figures earlier on about the Facebook likes. Coca-Cola have something like 77, 78 million likes. And I think Google Google have only 7, I believe, which is bizarre. So it's quite an incredible spread, I suppose, when you consider that Coca-Cola is effectively a product-based company, not really a technology-based business at all, apart from using technology in its processes. So whilst technology might be an easy headline, there's an awful lot more going in there And one of the biggest themes that we've picked on this year is the changing way in which people need to lead their companies.
And I think
perhaps that's a point where it'd be good to hear from some people that actually do that.
Yes. We have a wide variety of brand categories represented on the panel, kickoff panel here. We have financial services. We have consumer non-durables, very non-durable in that you're bound to drink a Bud or one of your other beers very quickly. And we have a venerable consumer durable product in the form of Harley-Davidson. So I thought I would start by asking Frank to talk a little bit about the Budweiser and its role. It finished in 31st place this year on the Best Global Brands, which was unchanged from the previous results. So it didn't go up, but didn't go down. And one of the big things that you're doing with the Budweiser brand is to turn it into a global brand around the world. Now, in the market for beer, where so much of what, in the past anyway, has been a locally based product, that people preferred to drink a beer that represented their hometown or their home region, whether it was because of civic pride or because they felt that a local beer wouldn't spoil by being schlepped from thousands of miles away to their local bar or bodega. Could you talk a little bit about the challenges that you're facing making Budweiser a global brand at the same time there are so many local beers that are popular among consumers?
The challenge is simply fascinating. I find that part of our function in the company, the marketing company, fascinating in respect that task number one is to assemble an efficient portfolio of brands. We tackle every market opportunity in every geography with the best combination and the best chess game of positionings between global brands and local brands. We don't particularly believe that it's either or. It's actually an efficient combination and a choiceful way in which you position every brand in consumers' mind, and you tap into the assets of each of the brands that you have. So that's why we are obsessed about ensuring that the global brands do not occupy a space that the local brand does, that the local brands focus on serving the needs and play a role in people's lives, in a role that in a particular requirement or need that exists locally in that country and that doesn't resonate in other geographies. Since we launched the dream of making Budweiser the first truly global brand in beer, we focus in three simple things. Number one is identify which is that global need or global emotion we're trying to serve, because consumers have many needs in different geographies, but some of them emerge as globally resonant and relevant across many continents. So
that'd be like to generalize, would be like a younger consumer that would be more interested in a beer that has a global brand personality, do you think? Or
we actually found them at different stages in their life. We have consumers between 21 and 27 that have global needs, and many global brands serve and play a role in their lives. We also have consumers about 35 and 45 that have very stable set of needs and requirements, and they tend to be very loyal to the brands they consume. So, and those consumers always emerge as well globally. So the rule number one for us is identify that global need you are trying to serve with your global brand. That's one. Two, as you are trying to stand for something, make sure you stand for one thing globally. Have a very simple brand essence, and make sure you identify what is it exactly that you're trying to improve in people's lives. Make sure your brand has a purpose that not only is clear for consumers who you are, but what is that you do for them to make their lives better.
And with Budweiser, it's sort of this American optimism and American sense of fun and having a good time.
Yeah, when we started with it, we actually said, well, this is, the brand is so intertwined with the fabric of the American dream. But as we talk to consumers all over the world, we to our surprise, we discovered that's just not the American dream, that's a global dream. This notion of great emotions come when people anticipate great times ahead of us. It's optimism that Jess was talking about and Duncan was talking about before. That's a global need. And so we saw the opportunity of tapping that with a brand that has the credentials to do so. So we wanted to summarize the brand essence as celebration and optimism in a bottle. And that's exactly what I think is at the core of this, of the American dream, which is also a universal dream. So championing opportunity, championing possibility, and helping people fulfill their dreams. That's where we found fertile ground globally. And not only in geographies where the brand is well known, like in the United States, but also in geographies where we decided to expand in the last 4 years, like Brazil, like Russia, like Ukraine, and like in China, where actually the dream resonates in a different way, but it still is valid.
Now, Susan, the Citi brand started out obviously in I don't know, like 3 feet from here or 4 yards from here, and and now has become a global brand. It was number 48 on the list this year, up 2 notches from number 50. So I was wondering some of the information that was interesting to me about what you're doing with Citi is this sort of not only globalization, but sort of focus on urbanization, on urban markets. And obviously here in New York, we have a very good example of this that we dodge and weave around every day now, called Citi Bike. And if you could talk a little bit about how the urban identity plays into the sort of the global brand personality or global brand presence for the Citi brand.
Sure, absolutely, yes. So happily, we're up a couple of notches this year. So broadly speaking, I think Citi was born just a few feet away from here and has expanded over a period of essentially 200 years. And during that period of time, of course, the business has moved from city to city because for the most part, that's where we engage with folks like yourselves and our corporate clients and so on and so forth. So it's always had its kind of DNA connected deeply to cities as they grow. So as we are now moving into this moment in time where cities become increasingly important, we have begun to focus as much as we can on supporting clients and customers in various metropolitan areas. And it's got sort of 2 shapes to it, of course. We have a large institutional and corporate business that's working to connect with mayors around the world and provide the type of finance and corporate finance to support urban infrastructures as they grow. When cities grow, they need transportation. There are quite a lot of challenges when cities grow a little more quickly than perhaps they have done in the past. And so there is plenty of evidence of this phenomena taking place. And we're there in most of the very significant cities around the world to partner with clients and customers and help them in that. And then on the other side of the equation, examples akin to getting, of course, involved with the community, supporting the community as we have done here in New York City with Citi Bike, which is a pretty new, it's a new initiative for us, and I think, hopefully people are enjoying it. It does, it does indeed seem to have been, a popular campaign. We've seen it in some other cities as well. So,
can we get a show of hands? How many people in the room have ridden a Citi Bike? Wow, very, very good. A lot of early adopters. Yes.
As they should be, right? Given what they do.
Excuse the sample, all the brand people in the room.
So it's, we're in 100+ countries, and on the urbanization theme, that's for the most part when our corporate bank goes ahead into a market, they go into a city and that, there's a lot of work done. On the consumer business side, we're just shy of 50 countries where we have a robust consumer business, and in those markets we get much more embedded with supporting the community, as well as serving individuals, for their, for their needs. So, I mean, this mega trend is at our door now, and we've been charting it for the best part of 20 years, as I'm sure, many of you have as well. And so, it's beginning to shift a little bit. The nation state, perhaps, is beginning to become of less overt importance, and the metropolitan cities are beginning to rise. And I think we see that in the increasing importance of mayors around the world. Maybe 20 years ago, we wouldn't know who the local mayor was, and now they're becoming brand personalities in their own right. So, and we're there as a company, as an enterprise, as a brand to, support positive growth wherever we can.
One of the most interesting things that Citi's done recently is this 200th anniversary celebration that you've been engaged in. And Harley-Davidson, as I understand, has been conducting a 110th anniversary campaign.
Yep, just finished it.
Now, I can see
ways to go to 200. We're looking forward to it.
Something to strive
for. We're striving for it.
Now, I can see with a financial service brand the need to promote the fact that you've been around 200 years because obviously, unfortunately, a lot of very well-known financial brands are no longer around. But in the case of a Harley-Davidson, how do you balance that heritage story with the growing outreach that you do toward younger consumers to whom the fact that the brand has been around for extraordinarily long time might not always be a positive? How do you deal with that?
Well, because we haven't found that it's not a positive. It is a positive, or else we wouldn't do it. 110 years, we just had a big party in Milwaukee. We had 100,000 of our closest friends come by, and it was the United Nations. It was people from all around the world. It was young adults, women, Hispanics, African Americans hanging out with each other. People of all colors, creeds, political opinions, income groups, all hanging out together and not really caring about that stuff when
And this is relatively recent, this change in demographics, or has it been going on for a while?
Well, we haven't missed a generational baton pass in 110 years. And we're not going to miss this one either. We're the #1 seller of motorcycles to young adults today. Now, that wasn't true 5 years ago. I'm not sure how much credit we get in the Interbrand study for that, but I'm working on that with Jess.
Well, your number, number 96 unchanged from last year.
So here are the numbers we care about, Stuart. So 12, we care about the number 12 because that's the points of market share we've grown in the last 4 years.
Okay.
We care about the number 1 because it's our market share rank with young adults, women, African Americans, Hispanics, and Caucasian men. And we care about the number 50 million. The number 50 million is the number of Caucasian men that exist above the age of 35 in the United States today. And so I'll ask you, how many Caucasian men, 35 plus, will there be in the United States 10 years from now? 50 million, that's why we love that number. 10 years after that, 2030, 50 million. 2040, 50 million.
But it's not growing, but it's not shrinking.
It's not shrinking. And so the issue is that we've become the #1 share brand with all of our outreach segments. We're growing with them. And we have a very stable base of our core customer base out as far as the eye can see according to the US Census. So you put those together along with our global growth, and we're feeling pretty good about the next 110 years.
Okay. I'd like you to talk about something that's becoming increasingly important as brands reach out to consumers, something that's called experiential marketing. Now, I know that you folks do a lot of efforts to bring people into the brand and experience it and sell it that way as rather than just this much chrome and this many horses in the engine. I'd like you to talk a little bit about what you do experientially, and then I'd like the other two panelists to follow up in terms of what they do to bring their brands into a tangible form of existence apart from what you can buy or drink or your ATM card or your city bike.
Well, I think everyone here has some examples of their own about how they create experiences for their customers and facilitate them with customers to create with each other. And that's part of our secret sauce, is that it's never just about what we are trying to do with them to us, it's also with each other. So we're trying to create the platforms, the the places where they can share these and create these experiences with each other and find this diversity that exists out in the world and get that thrill of someone that you met from a different country and a totally different background or just a different point of view and still have it be cool to be Harley-Davidson.
So you want to be like a social network?
Well, we have been a social network for 110 years. I mean, we were a social network a long time before there were computers on everyone's desks or in their pockets. And that's just the nature of our business. It's always been that way. So we facilitate it. The majority of our marketing expenses and experiences. Only 15% is actually in official, media and things you can measure. All the rest of it is in creating great experiences. In Rome, we did our 110th anniversary, and we did a cross promotion with God. We had Pope Francis. You didn't see this? You should see.
God and I haven't been on speaking terms.
It was covered in the CBS Evening News. But we had
We're trying to improve
we
that.
had Pope Francis bless
answer your phone call.
bless Harleys right off of St. Peter's Square. About 1,000 Harleys. He came out, and I introduced a jacket to him, and picture went worldwide. And I'm sort of surprised you didn't see it, but it was 2.7 billion media impressions. So that's why I'm saying that. But anyway, here's Pope Francis engaging with the brand, engaging with our customers, and feeling that that's a good thing for them to want to do. And that's part of creating an epic level of experience that very few brands can match, and that's what we try to do every day.
Now, if only you can get the Pope Mobile to be turned into a
We did give him a
Harley.
motorcycle, so if he wants to make it a Pope cycle, I'm sure he can.
From encyclicals to cycles. That's the goal here. Can you talk a little bit about Budweiser and experiences? Obviously, the brand is doing a lot more around both sports and music.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about how you do that and then how you try differentiate that from all the other beer brands, consumer brands that are also using sports and music to connect with customers?
The more the world evolves into a very fragmented landscape, the more we get the questions, what's your mobile strategy? What's your sports strategy? But you have experiential strategy. We don't have any of those. We have branded content. We have a brand that wants to stand for one thing and a dream and an ideal that the brand wants to play in people's lives. And then every aspect, every signal the brand sends is a way of connecting. So we care about branded content that come from the pack, from the media, from the traditional media, from the owned media, from the paid media, from the earned media, from any sort of media, from the innovation, from music, we try to make sure that we build stories that bring that brand ideal to life. And if Jay-Z's and Rihanna's quest to give people access to where culture is shaped plays a role with the brand, then we use that as a platform of branded content. Packaging is an experiential platform. A great pint of Budweiser with the right presentation is an experiential platform on its own.
And you're introducing a new can that's shaped like the logo.
Correct. Yeah, we were trying to. First is make an ordinary pack special in the way it feels and the way it communicates with you. And we learn all over the world that the more we anchor these iconic symbols, these icons, let's say, iconic symbols. It's these icons like Harley-Davidson is an iconic brand in many aspects and so has so many symbols. We do have as well many symbols that people identify with and they carry them and triggers a bunch of emotions. So that bow tie triggers a number of emotions because the way it's slanted, the way it evokes in people positivity. So we're trying to make out of it the equivalent of our Nike swoosh or the Coca-Cola thrill. And the brand has enough equity here and in many parts in the world to evoke that. So every symbol that builds a bridge with the brand ideal, we capitalize on it. And we try to do it with discipline, one single look globally. One of the challenges of building a global brand is making sure you have a consistent and coherent and timeless look and feel, which is essentially if you are competing with other global icons. So branded content, bringing brand idea to life, that's what matters for us. Digital or not digital, we let that be secondary. Those are instruments.
Susan?
I think we are doing, and it's a very exciting time. I think we're at a significant shift in a number of places around the world. And So I guess I would say that there are essentially about 3 different things that are worth kind of commenting on. One has to do with, we've been working over the past couple of years to provide forums where customers can connect to each other and have discussions, because we don't have a physical product like motorbikes or beer, but we have service. And a lot of our clients and customers rely on us for advice and counsel. But obviously, when we all look for engaging in a relationship with anybody, especially a financial services company, you look to ask sometimes for other people's points of view. And so we've got, in the United States, we've got a relationship where we co-host a social media site on LinkedIn for professional women. And it allows customers and also folks who are not customers to have conversations with each other. We don't, it's as if we're hosting the party, but we're not driving the conversation or driving the content. So I think in terms of experience, that's a pretty interesting sort of trend, and it's been extremely successful and popular and growing. Another thing I think that in terms of experience, we ourselves, I think, are becoming better storytellers. Most financial services companies don't, because appropriately we have codes of privacy for our clients. And one of the things that has meant that probably we've not been as good at telling what, the beneficial story of what we do for communities and individuals. So the 200-year campaign was very powerful for us internally because it allowed us to look at all the things we've done over, obviously 2 centuries is a tremendously long time, but some of the large-scale programs that we've got involved with, the Panama Canal and the transatlantic cable, deploying ATM, they're pretty big, and it enabled our employees to have the experience of knowing at a very broad scale, some of the things that we've been involved in. And so creating an experience, I think, for them has been also very powerful with respect to, shaping a culture into, to lean into a more optimistic time as we're moving into the next several years. So I think for me, those are the 2, because of this, because we don't have physical products, although we tend to call them products. I think having the opportunity to talk about the benefit and connect with each other. Maybe a third thing that's worth mentioning is that I had said that the urbanization trend 20 years ago was a big deal. I think now we're seeing this amazing mega trend around the increasing influence and affluence of women. And one of the things in terms of experience that is happening is women internally at Citi are connecting with each other and connecting with other women, other financial services firms, and that's shaping, a very open dialogue, because for the most part that hasn't happened before in formal structures. So, and I think if women tell a good story, or if women trust you, they will tend to, they're more likely to tell somebody else, and in terms of taking a message forward, I think that can be a very good thing for us all.
Okay, we have a little bit under 2 minutes left, so I think we have time for maybe a question, if there is one in the audience. Is there a question? I know it's dark and you all just ate lunch, but might there be a question, like how do you jump the line for the city bikes, or? Okay, Jez, can you just maybe sum up and talk a little bit about how much of a role Experiential plays in the Interbrand rankings in about a minute?
I'll try and do it in just that. There are 2 elements that we look at apart from just looking at earnings streams, which is the basis of the model. One of them is how important is the brand in purchase decision, and the other one is what we call brand strength. And within that, we look at a whole raft of different things from the inside and the outside of the organisation. And we do take a very holistic view of brands. It's not just about communications at all. We are looking at products and service, communications, internal culture, and of course the creation of environments and experiences. And we see this as being a big trend going into the future. The way that people think about everything from clothing stores to airlines to car dealerships to banking experiences. All of these things are changing quite significantly. We've all heard of things like showrooming. Well, there's also the appearance of what we would call experience ships as well. And we've all been or seen these things from consumer electronics companies to car businesses to whatever it may be. The other thing, of course, which has to happen because we just expect it now, is for businesses to become far, far better at being omni-channel when it comes to the creation of experiences. It still amazes me the number of retail stores that I go into, and yet there is no connection whatsoever between what's going on their .com site and what's physically in my hand while I'm walking around their store. There is a huge opportunity for businesses to tie together all of those different things. We are all digitally savvy now. We live in a post-digital world. So I think there's tremendous opportunity, not just to build physical experiences, but to build experiences which surround us completely digitally and in the real world.
All right, food for thought. Thank you all, and please thank our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.